Hey, sir.
Hey, welcome to the Sawyer Viola show, you guys. My next guest today is Dan, the owner of SDRI. Thanks for being on the show today.
You're welcome. And sir, just to clarify, I'm the executive director of SDRI, but we're a
Oh,
nonprofit, so we don't have an owner. We have a
okay.
board.
Um, so can you tell us a little bit about, can you tell us what is your, tell us what you do for DSRI?
So I'm SDRI's director, and so I supervise the staff and work on budgets, maintain fiscal responsibility. I interface with the state and with other organizations. We do some amount of political advocacy, legislative session times. Um, but basically, I'm in charge of the day-to-day operations of the brokerage.
That's awesome. So, question two, how long have you worked with people that have disabilities?
I've been working with folks with developmental disabilities since I was 21, so that would be 36 years now, almost 37.
Dang, but sort of all. So what makes it different from metal industries, I guess?
Gosh, that's a great question, and I have been working in the DD system for so long, I might not know that as well as other people. I think I think some of the hallmarks that have always impressed me about our field is that most everybody I've run into in my career really likes to work cooperatively. There's, people very much help each other. A win for one of my colleagues is a win for somebody with disabilities or a group of people with disabilities. So everybody's for that. So you know, I think that's a difference. I think working in a small nonprofit, I like that better than working. I've worked for government and I've worked for larger corporations, and I certainly like working for a smaller nonprofit. It's more personal. You just have a better connection to everybody you work with. I think that's another difference. But again, I just think the DD field is for the most part just full of people who want to help each other and want to help other people. And that's a pretty good field to work in.
That's awesome. So question three, how does SDRI help support employment and employment?
So we work as one of the case management entities in Oregon. We, work with each one of our customers. We're an employment first state. So as part of the planning process for every customer, we certainly have to ask questions about employment and about interest in employment. And we definitely understand the benefits of employment for people with developmental disabilities. Like everyone else, it's great that people can have some income, some more freedom, more relationships in their life, more people that they know, all benefits you get from working. So when somebody said, "Hey, I would like to work," we will help them find a provider to do discovery. We'll help them connect with the Office of Vocational Rehabilitation. We'll go to all their VR meetings with them because VR typically pays for the job development portion of finding someone a job. And once a job developer is hired, we'll work with that job developer to help them as much as we can. Once the person has a job, then it goes back to SDRI for long-term job coach funding. So we'll fund the job coaches long-term if folks need it. They can have, you know, somebody can have job coaching forever if that's really what they need to make sure they maintain employment. We can also help find personal care attendants for folks while they're working, if that's a need that they have. And then, depending on what's going on, we've certainly helped people with disputes with employers, that kind of thing. Certainly supported job coaches when they're, folks have had schedules shift around and they didn't want that, or, other issues that come up with employment. We'll help on the, when someone has that job. And then we also do benefits planning. So if someone wants to know how is work going to affect me and my benefits, we have a couple folks on staff who can help do benefits planning and help them understand, what are the benefits of working, and how will it play out with your Social Security, your Medicaid or Medicare, whatever kind of medical benefits you have. So those are the services we offer for folks who want a job.
So basically, I guess a follow-up question would be, so so DSOI basically kind of your company is basically, if correct me if I'm wrong, but to basically set up sort of the person's team and sort of and help them like with sort of like the blueprint to their like path, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. We want, all the people that the customer and the individual that we're working with, all the people they want to help them plan. We want to bring in those folks and help facilitate those meetings so that people, really get clear about what it is you want out of life in general and what it is that SDRI and case management services can help you in achieving those goals that you have.
That's so cool and so awesome to be a part of the company, be in a way. So question 5, what do you want to see happen in the future for the disabilities community and the IDD community, which we call it for short?
I think what we've always been striving for in work is, greater acceptance in the community. I think, it would just be lovely to see a time when, someone with disabilities isn't considered unusual in the community, or someone with developmental disabilities isn't considered unusual to be your coworker. I think we'd love to see societal attitudes change towards people with disability and not see them as somehow different, because again, I've worked with enough people with disabilities to know that, they're as different and as unique as any other individual group. I think, that would be, I think, the best possible outcome is if, more people just accept people with disabilities, more people want to be friends with people with disabilities, that people with disabilities have a really full life in the community and are just accepted by everybody.
Yes, and I guess a follow-up question would be so in my opinion, and I want to know your opinion on this, but I think that providers should be getting a decent wage at some point, because people realize that they're also a big part of the team. Like when it comes to moving forward and everything, that the state needs to realize that like providers are like the main like support of the team. And like as clients, yes, we did it on our own, but I guess as a question, kind of like, do you kind of like we want to be 100% there without their support? And so, what do you think steps need to be put in place to help make that happen?
Well, I think a few things. First of all, absolutely, I agree. Everybody needs support. Some people need a little bit of support, some people need a lot of support. And I think the folks who provide that support for money need to be paid adequately enough to have a life, to be able to afford a house in Portland, maybe even, which is increasingly becoming more difficult for folks. There's definitely legislative advocacy that goes on each session to try and get, direct support professionals and personal support workers wages that can help them live in our communities. So I think that's always important. And it's never, the last session, there was a great bill that someone had sponsored, Representative Rob Noss had sponsored, that would have pegged DSP wages to minimum wage and said they had to be at least 150% of minimum wage. Unfortunately, that didn't pass, but I would love to see something like that occur. When I started in the field, 37 years ago, 36 years ago, I went from a minimum wage job at the time, which paid $3.35 an hour, to getting $5.50 an hour, which was a huge difference. Now, minimum wage is, definitely better than $3.35, but the difference between minimum wage and the wage that DSPs get paid is much less than it used to be. And I think that's really important. You've got to distinguish this as work that requires a lot of skill, a lot of emotional intelligence, physical exertion for some people when they're providing, supports. It's a serious profession that needs to be treated like a serious profession so that it attracts really wonderful people.
So
So
that
that's what we
yeah,
see.
so there are people out there who kind of, and we probably already touched on this, but who want to get involved and want to help make that happen. What do they need to do?
I think, there's several things folks can do. First of all, there are always group home companies, foster care homes, in-home agencies that are hiring. And I think it's fairly easy to get a job if you're interested in starting in the field of caregiving. Obviously there are a few caveats. You've got to be someone who can pass a criminal history check. Somebody who's shown that they have good character, and is trustworthy by doing that criminal history check. And then there's training that's provided once you start working. So I think the bar to get into the field is pretty easy, and I just think people should take advantage of that. And then there's trainings the state provides. There's trainings that a group called Carewell SEIU provides to personal support workers. All the different agencies provide training for their staff. So I think it's a fairly easy field to get into. And that's how I started. I became a caregiver in a group home when I was in college, and ended up changing my major and making it my career. And I think other people can do something similar.
That's awesome. So you touched when you got started. For the viewers at home, can you tell them sort of why you wanted to be a part of the community and when you started, when you decided to start?
Sure. So I was in college and I was working a job at a laundromat that had been a bar and a laundromat, by this time it was only a laundromat, which wasn't as fun to work at. And I was working some weekend nights because that's what I had available because I was going to college. And I saw that there was a job in a group home that had similar hours but paid better. And I had a friend who had worked for that group home company and just had all sorts of really lovely stories about the people he worked with. So I applied and got the job. And then I worked there for a while. I decided I really enjoyed the field. I changed my major and became a social work major and got my degree and been working in the field ever since.
That's awesome. So cool. Yeah, obviously I'm trying to make a difference myself. So do you have any questions for me? I guess if you have any.
How long have you been doing your podcast?
Oh, my podcast. Yeah, I've been doing it for about a year. I brought up to my one of my providers, back a year ago, and I was like, hey, I'm gonna do this YouTube channel. And at first, she thought I was just popping off because I don't think she took me seriously until she literally comes over to my apartment. And like, hey, we're gonna do an interview. I think it took her off guard, and so it was kind of the first interview, kind of like right on the spot. And so we made up questions kind of on the fly, and but yeah, my goal is to eventually one day change the view of autism so people around the world and around the US in business and whatever can see that okay, people of autism are like many shapes, many sizes, many and that you can see sort of okay, just because so I want to break the box of okay, there's just one person does it because right now we have a box of okay, there's just one type of autism. I want to make kind of like let everybody know, kind of like get laws passed. So it's kind of like, okay, we know that in the workplace you can ask for like your accommodations and stuff, and you can get it without worrying about losing your job. Sort of like I want to help, sort of like use what I've been given to help other people, essentially.
That's great. And what do you think, like, where would you like to see the DD system? Like, what changes if you were king for a day or had a magic wand, what would you change about our system?
If I wasn't if I was the king for the day, which I know it probably won't happen, but if I was, I would probably want, if I could, I'd probably try to get, like I said, providers up to a decent wage, and caregivers, and I would probably, try to, in my opinion, get, help people, like I said, jobs, so like they could make it more easier, so people feel comfortable, like maybe have like job coaches get paid more so like they can be there. So when somebody's asking for make it normal, so when somebody's asking for the service they need in a job, or if they're trying to get an appointment in a job, they can ask their employer, like I said, without like one of my friends tried to ask and they got like trying to ask without them getting like feeling uncomfortable that they're gonna
Mhm.
lose their job. So my whole thing was just to help everybody make like get lost past vitals, help move forward, just make autism normal so everybody else could see that okay, these everybody could see and we could move forward with people with disabilities, people with autism, but just to move our industry forward and give it the respect it deserves. Because we need sort of that respect and sort of to give it we're moving forward in the right direction because we have great
Mhm.
advocacies like Edo Clyde's still doing amazing work, Provido's doing amazing work, but we need kind of like push it over the edge essentially.
I think you could be king for that in my book.
Yeah, so see. Yeah, so thank you so much for doing this today. It was a pleasure to have you on the show. And thank for all the good work you are doing for this industry. Very appreciate it. So your company is a great company to be a part of, obviously, because I wouldn't, like I said, I came to Beaverton, and people don't know this. Mark Rodo, the person who my from agency that I'm a client of, he helped me get in touch with you, and obviously it's been awesome working with you guys. You guys have helped me out a ton, so keep fighting a good fight. Thank you so much for being a part of the broadcast.
All right. Well, thank you for having me, Sawyer.
All right, bye.
Bye.